Today, what we are going to do is we are going to talk about transformations. That's what we're going to spend this week looking at, transformations. And what transformations are going to let us do is it's going to let us take a point or a segment or a shape and move it around while still preserving the look of the shape. The technical name for that you might see once or twice is called an isometry. It means it preserves the shape. And so a transformation is moving the shape around in some way. And we're going to have 3 different types of transformations. We'll talk about 2 of them today, and we'll talk about 1 of them tomorrow. The first transformation is going to be, we can take this shape and we can shift it around. Shift it up, down, left, right. And then the second shape we have is that we can flip the shape. So we can flip it horizontally or we can flip it vertically. And then our third type of transformation we're going to have is we are going to be able to turn the shape. So we have shifting around, we have flipping, and we have turning. So just a little bit of notation and terms before we get started here. When we transform a shape, we're going to wind up with a new shape, and that new shape is going to be called the image. The image is going to be the name for our new shape. And so for our original shape, the shape we get before the image, we're going to call it the pre-image. So pre-image for our original shape, and the image is going to be our new shape. And when we graph our new shape, we're going to take all the points we had before in our original shape, and we're going to put a prime on them. That little kind of apostrophe there is going to be a prime. So A is going to turn into A prime. That way when we're looking, we can know for sure which points are which shape is talking about the old shape and which shape is the new shape. Because the new shape will have those A prime, B prime, C prime on them. So pre-image and image, the image is the new shape and we're going to have a prime on it. So let's talk about our first type of transformation, which is a translation. Translation is our shifting. That's what we're going to spend most of today talking about. We are going to shift our shape up, down, left, or right. And to describe the instructions for how we move this shape, we're going to have what's called a coordinate rule. And the coordinate rule is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to be a rule that describes what happens to the coordinates. So this coordinate rule is going to give directions for where x, y is going to move. If I have some point, here's what you can do to it to create the new point. And for a translation, for a shifting, the coordinate rule is going to be x plus a, y plus b. So like I said, we're shifting up, down, left, right. So what we're going to do is we're going to organize it into how far left and right are we moving, and then how far up or down are we moving. Because x is in charge of left and right, so the x plus a will tell us how far to the left or to the right are we moving our shape. And then the y plus b will tell us how far up or down are we moving our shape. So let's try this with a point. We'll start with a point, and then we'll do it for an entire shape. So we're going to start with looking at point P, which is at negative 3, 1. And we're going to look at translating the point 4 units to the right and 3 units down. And we're going to label that point P prime. So first off, let's graph point P. Point P is at negative 3, 1. Negative 1, 2, 3, and up to 1. There's P. And we are going to translate that point 4 units to the right and 3 units down. 4 units to the right and 3 units down. So 4 to the right, starting at point P, we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and then we're going to move 1, 2, 3 down. And this new point is going to get labeled P prime. P prime, to show that it's been translated, to show that the point has been moved. It's our point P, it's just been shifted to the right 4 and down 3. If I were to write this as a coordinate rule, let me show you how the coordinate rule would look, just to show that it would give me the same thing. You can think of it either way. You can think of it as a shifting up, down, left, right, or you can think about it as this coordinate rule. So the coordinate rule would say x comma y will move to, well, the coordinate rule says that I move 4 units to the right. Well, to the right, x is in charge of to the right. So we're going to talk to x first and say that, and we want to tell it move to the right. So we want to tell it move to the right. That's going to be a positive direction for x. To the right is a positive direction, so we're going to tell it to add 4. All the x coordinates, we want them to add 4. That will move them 4 to the right. And then we want it to move 3 units down. If we want it to move 3 down, well then that means we're going to talk to y. We're going to talk to y. So we're going to take our y coordinate, and down is a negative direction. So we're going to tell it to subtract. So if we did this just with the coordinates, I'm not looking at the graph at all. Negative 3 comma 1 is going to move to, well, my instructions are to take the x coordinate, which is negative 3, and add 4. No, I can't write today. Our instruction for x is to take our x coordinate, negative 3, and add 4. Then for our y coordinate, our instruction is to take our y coordinate, which is 1, and then subtract 3. So that means our new point, which is P prime, should end up with negative 3 plus 4 is going to be a positive 1. 1 minus 3 is a negative 2. And if we look at where point P wound up on the graph, 1, negative 2, oh, there it is. Right. On your own, so I'll expect to see this on your notes. On your own, don't worry about this one, but I want you to try using point A, 2, 5. When you do the same thing, you can think of it either as looking at moving up, down, left, right, or you can think of it with your coordinate rule where you're adding and subtracting from your coordinates. Either way, I want you to tell me where A prime is going to go. Now let's do this for an entire shape. For an entire shape. And this entire shape is going to get shifted in some way. But before we talk about how it's going to get shifted, let's just do the coordinate rule. Our coordinate rule here is xy moves to x minus 4, y plus 2. So we're going to take the x coordinates and subtract 4. We're going to take the y coordinates and add 2. So if we're looking at A is at 1, 2. So that means A prime, I'm going to take the x coordinate of 1, and I'm going to subtract 4. And then I will take the y coordinate, which is 2, and I'm going to add 2. So if I do that, I'm going to have 1 minus 4 is going to be a negative 3. And then I have 2 plus 2 is 4. So A prime will wind up at negative 3, 4. Now I'm going to give you a minute, and I want you to do the same thing for B, C, and D. Tell me where B prime, C prime, and D prime are going to end up. So what I like to do a lot if we're doing the coordinate rules is to deal with all the x coordinates first down the line, and then deal with all the y coordinates going down the line. So I take all the x coordinates and subtract 4. So I'm just going to focus on the x coordinates. Subtract 4 from all of them. So I'm going to take 3, subtract 4, I get negative 1. I'm going to take 4, subtract 4, I get 0. I'm going to take 1, subtract 4, I get a negative 3. Then I'll go down the line of all the y coordinates, and I'm going to add 2 to all the y coordinates. So my y coordinate here is 3. I'm going to add 2 and get 5. My y coordinate here is negative 1. I'm going to add 2 and get a positive 1. My y coordinate here is negative 2. I'm going to add 2 and get 0. Now, if you want to do this with the graph, I would have, well, I need to figure out what directions I'm moving. So x minus 4. So x minus 4, well, x is in charge of left and right. So if I'm subtracting 4 with the x coordinate, x is in charge of left and right. So if I'm subtracting, that is going to move me to the left. That's a negative direction for x. So that's going to be left 4. And then y is in charge of up and down. So if I'm adding 2, then that means we're going to move up 2. So to the left 4 and up 2. So I could do this by taking all the points and moving them to the left 4 and up 2. Take A, move it to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1, 2. Here's A prime. Take B, move it to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1, 2. Here's B prime. Take C, move it to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1, 2. Here's C prime. Take D, move it to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1, 2. Here's D prime. And you can actually check this 2 different ways. First of all, you should be able to check the coordinates and see if they wound up in the same place. So let me just pull C prime. Where did C prime end up? It wound up at an x coordinate of 0 and a y coordinate up at 1. Hey, 0, 1. So whether I worked with the algebra and the coordinate rule or I worked with the graph, I got the same thing. Then I can also check because the shape should look familiar to the original shape. So you should be able to check that the new shape should kind of match the original shape. In this case, it just got moved. It just got shifted up, down, left, right. Questions on that? All right, one more with translations then. This time, I'm giving you the translation, and I'm asking you to write the rule. So last time I gave you the rule and asked for the to actually do it. This time I've done it and asked what's the rule. So first off, we need to figure out which shape is which. And how can we tell which one was the original and which one is the new shape, the image? What in the diagram is going to, and the labeling is going to tell you that? So the prime symbol is going to tell you that. So to know that this point is A prime and B prime, that means that this was my original starting image, and this is my new transformation because of the primes. And so to move from the original to the new shape, let's take a look at how we moved. Let's just take A for an example. We took point A, and it moved to the left 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2 to get to A prime. So it moved to the left 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2 to get to A prime. So to the left, 3, up 2. And you can double check that with the other points. B moved to the left 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2 to get to B prime. You can check all of those. Left 3 and up 2. So now we need to write the actual coordinate rule that has those directions. Where does x, y move to? Well, here x, y is going to move to, we want to tell it to move to the left 3. So which one is in charge of moving us to the left, x or y? X. X is in charge of left and right. And so we want to tell x, hey, move to the left. Well, I want to tell it to move to the left. That's a negative direction. So we're going to subtract the 3. And then for y, I want to tell it to move up. So we're going to put, if I want to tell it to move up, which direction is that going to be? So up means that's a positive direction for y. So we're going to put plus 2. Our positive directions are up and to the right, and then left and down are negative directions. So since we're moving up, that's a positive direction. We want to add 2. So this is my coordinate rule. The coordinate rule should always start with x, y moves to, and then this little arrow. Because that tells me, here's, if you take a point in general, any point, here's where it goes to. Here's your instructions for where to move it. All right, so that is our translations. That is shifting up, down, left, right. Now we're going to look at our next type of transformation, which is going to be flipping. Taking the shape and flipping it. And those are called reflections. Reflections. And we are going to flip. You can flip over any line, but we're just going to focus on the x-axis and the y-axis, just to make it simple. We're just going to focus on flipping over the x-axis and the y-axis. So the basic instructions for doing a reflection is, instead of shifting up, down, left, right, we're going to go the opposite direction of the line that we went before. And so if we had this original blue shape, It was to the left of this line that we're flipping over. Well, instead of going to the left of the line, we're going to take all the points and move them that same direction but to the right. So if this point was 3 to the left, now it's going to move 3 to the right. So we're flipping the direction that we're going. These have coordinate rules. I'll come back to them and talk about where they come from. Let's actually do an example. We're going to put A. So we put our points A, B, and we are going to flip it over the x-axis. So the x-axis is the horizontal axis. This one labeled x. And so since it's a horizontal line, we can either be above the line or below the line. And so we're going to flip that direction, whatever direction we are. If we were above the line, now we're going to go below the line. If we were below the line, now we're going to go above the line. So A is going to get flipped. So instead of being 2 above the line, now it's going to be 2 below the line. A prime. B, point B, well, that was on the line. Right on the line, it didn't move above or below it, so that's going to stay where it is. So B prime is going to stay where it is. So this is, we're taking a segment and reflecting it. But again, notice all those points that were above the line, they're now that far below the line. So these points here that were slightly above the line, they're now slightly below the line. So we flipped the direction. It was above, now it's below. So if we wanted to list out the coordinates, which again you should do on all your homework assignments, list out the coordinates. So let's put our points A. We've got -1, 2. And B is at 3, 0. So A prime. A prime is now at -1, -2. And then B prime stayed where it was at 3, 0. Because it was already on the line that we were flipping over. So I want to give you 1 minute, and I want you to do the same thing on the next one, except this time we are flipping over the y-axis. So the y-axis is what we're flipping over. We're taking the same points. We have A and B. Except this time we're flipping over the y-axis. So I want you to flip it, write out what those points are. This time they're to the left and the right of the line, so that's the directions you're going to flip. And then we'll talk about what the coordinate rules are going to look like and why they are the way they are.